The most insane story ever told. How humans conquered everything. Stop everything you're doing right now. I'm about to tell you the most incredible, unbelievable, absolutely insane story you've ever heard. And here's the crazy part. Every single word of it is true. This is the story of how a bunch of barely civilized apes went from cowering around campfires to literally conquering an entire planet. How we went from throwing rocks to splitting atoms. From grunting at each other to sending messages across the globe at the speed of light. And it all started with one simple discovery that changed everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The question that's going to blow your mind today is this. How did the weakest, most vulnerable species on Earth become its absolute masters? Stick around, because what you're about to discover will change how you see everything. Everything. I'd really appreciate a quick like or even subscribe. It'd help more than you know. Chapter 1. The moment everything changed. Picture this. 3 billion years ago, you and I were literally just atoms floating in space. Fast forward to 6 million years ago, we're swinging from trees, barely smarter than chimps. But then, fire. The moment some genius ancestor figured out how to control fire, everything changed. Not just cooking food, though that was huge, but something way more powerful. Fire meant community. People gathering in circles, sharing stories, planning hunts. For the first time in Earth's history, one species was actively thinking about tomorrow. Tools came next. Sharp stones, spears, hunting weapons. But here's what's absolutely mind-blowing. With every single invention, humans stepped further away from being just another animal and closer to becoming gods of their own world. And then came the invention that would change literally everything. Language, ma'am. Think about this for a second. With words, humans could share memories, pass down wisdom, tell stories that would echo through generations. Around those flickering fires, humanity didn't just survive. It began to dream. But here's where our story gets absolutely crazy. About 10,000 years ago, in a place called Mesopotamia, between two rivers called the Tigris and Euphrates, humans made a decision so radical, so completely insane, that it changed our species forever. They decided to stay put. Instead of following herds like they'd done for hundreds of thousands of years, the people of a city called Uruk said, "What if we make the food come to us?" They planted seeds. They domesticated animals. They built the world's first real city with over 50,000 people. But here's the crazy part. This decision literally changed the human body. Our hunter-gatherer ancestors were like ancient superhumans. Men averaged almost 6 feet tall, women over 5'3". After agriculture, men shrank to 5'3", women to barely 5 feet. We became smaller, weaker, but infinitely more powerful as a group. Chapter 2. Ancient civilizations go absolutely crazy. Okay, forget everything you think you know about ancient people being primitive. The Indus Valley civilization, 4,500 years ago, had better city planning than most modern cities. They built the world's first sophisticated sewage systems, underground drainage, covered drains, waste treatment facilities. They solved urban sanitation literally 4,000 years before London figured it out. Meanwhile, in Egypt, they were thinking bigger, way bigger. Picture Pharaoh Khufu with the most audacious plan in human history. I'm going to build a mountain, a perfect geometrical mountain that will last forever. For 20 brutal years, Thousands of workers moved stones weighing as much as modern trucks. No cranes, no machinery, just human determination and engineering genius. The Great Pyramid of Giza, so perfectly built that you can't slide a knife blade between the stones, so precisely aligned that it points to true north with almost zero error. This wasn't just construction. This was humanity literally reaching for immortality. But wait, it gets crazier. In China, a man named Yu the Great was facing the ultimate disaster. The Yellow River was flooding catastrophically, destroying crops, causing mass starvation across an entire civilization. Any normal person would give up. Yu the Great said, "Hold my beer." For 13 years, this absolute legend traveled the entire length of the river, building dikes, redirecting waterways, basically reshaping the landscape with his bare hands. When he succeeded, the people didn't just thank him. They made him emperor. And this established something incredible. In China, power belonged to whoever earned it through service and virtue. But perhaps the most mind-blowing innovation of this era wasn't a building or flood control. It was a 7-foot stone slab that would change human civilization forever. King Hammurabi of Babylon created the world's first comprehensive legal code. 282 laws carved in stone for everyone to see. If a man destroys another's eye, his eye shall be destroyed. If he breaks another's bone, his bone shall be broken. Brutal? Absolutely. But revolutionary. For the first time in human history, justice wasn't just whoever had the biggest stick, it was written law. Chapter 3. The most epic battle in history. All right, prepare yourself for the most insane military showdown in human history. This is David versus Goliath on steroids. It's 490 BCE. The Persian Empire, the largest, most powerful military force the world has ever seen, decides to crush tiny Greece once and for all. 20,000 Persian warriors land at Marathon. Their track record? Undefeated. They've conquered everything from India to Egypt. Greece should be a quick snack. The Athenians have 10,000 men. That's it. Any sane person would surrender immediately. The Greeks charged anyway. Their heavily armored hoplites smashed straight into the Persian center, crushed the flanks, and turned the beach into a graveyard. 6,400 Persian bodies versus only 192 Greek casualties. A messenger named Pheidippides ran 26.2 miles to Athens screaming, "We won!" and collapsed from exhaustion. That's literally why we call it a marathon today. But Persia wasn't done. 10 years later, Xerxes came back with over 100,000 soldiers. This time, there would be no mercy. At a narrow mountain pass called Thermopylae, 300 Spartans under King Leonidas faced impossible odds. They knew they were going to die. They knew no one was coming to save them, and they fought anyway. When Persian arrows literally darkened the sky, the Spartans said, "Good, we'll fight in the shade." For 3 days, 300 men held back an empire of 100,000. They all died, every single one. But their sacrifice gave Greece time to prepare the most brilliant naval strategy in history. At Salamis, Greek triremes lured the massive Persian fleet into narrow straits where their numbers meant nothing. They shattered Persian naval power forever. Greece had proven something incredible. Courage and intelligence could triumph over overwhelming force. Democracy could defeat tyranny. Freedom could conquer oppression. But this victory would lead to something even more extraordinary. Chapter 4. The greatest teacher meets the ultimate student. What happens when the smartest person who ever lived becomes the teacher of a future world conqueror? Aristotle, the man who literally invented logic, biology, and the scientific method, gets assigned to tutor a Macedonian prince named Alexander. Big mistake. When Alexander's father gets assassinated, this 20-year-old doesn't just inherit a kingdom. He inherits a burning desire to unite the entire world under one rule. When the Greek city of Thebes decides to test this young king, Alexander's response is swift and merciless. He marches 240 miles in 14 days and completely destroys the city. 6,000 dead, the rest sold into slavery. Message received. For the next decade, Alexander literally rewrites the map of the known world. He crushes the mighty Persian Empire at battles so one-sided, they're barely fair fights. He conquers Babylon, the jewel of Mesopotamia. He marches across deserts that kill armies. He crosses mountains no European has ever seen. And everywhere he goes, he plants the seeds of Greek culture, art, philosophy, science, democracy, creating a cultural fusion that will influence the world for thousands of years. But here's the heartbreaking part. Alexander dies at just 32 years old in Babylon, probably from fever or poison. His empire dies with him. His generals carve it up like vultures, forgetting the dream of unity. But while Alexander was conquering the West, something beautiful was happening in the East. In India, a prince named Siddhartha was living in ultimate luxury. Unlimited wealth, power, every pleasure imaginable. Until one day, he steps outside his palace walls and sees something that changes everything. Human suffering, disease, old age, death. The reality of existence. He abandons everything, his throne, his wealth, his comfortable life, and sits under a fig tree meditating until he achieves something extraordinary. Enlightenment. He becomes the Buddha, the awakened one, and his teachings about finding peace through understanding suffering will eventually reach hundreds of millions of people. Sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen not on battlefields, but in the human soul. Chapter 5. The Empire that Conquered the World. While Greece fragments and Eastern kingdoms rise and fall, a small Italian city-state is quietly building something that will dominate the world for 1,000 years. Rome. Legend says it was founded when Romulus killed his twin brother Remus in a fight over naming rights. True or not, it perfectly captures the Roman spirit. Ruthless ambition backed by unstoppable determination. Rome doesn't just conquer territories. It absorbs them, improves them, makes them Roman. They build roads that still exist 2,000 years later. They create laws that still govern us today. They perfect the art of turning enemies into allies. But Rome faces its greatest test when a military genius named Hannibal does the impossible. In 218 BCE, this Carthaginian general marches elephants across the Alps to attack Rome directly. For years, he terrorizes Italy, winning battle after battle, coming this close to destroying Rome forever. But Rome doesn't break, it adapts. At the Battle of Zama, Roman general Scipio Africanus finally defeats Hannibal, ending the Carthaginian threat forever. Rome learns the ultimate lesson. Survival means never giving up, never accepting defeat as final. And then, during the reign of Caesar Augustus, something happens that will change the course of human history. In a small Roman province called Judea, during a census that forces everyone to return to their ancestral cities, a young couple named Mary and Joseph travel 90 miles on foot to a little town called Bethlehem. There's no room at the inn, so they take shelter in a stable. And there, Mary gives birth to a baby, who will be called Jesus. This child, born under Roman occupation, raised in Roman territory, and eventually executed by Roman crucifixion, will inspire a message so powerful that it will outlast every emperor, every legion, every marble statue Rome ever built. His followers claim he can heal the blind, feed thousands with a few loaves, even rise from the dead. 4 of his disciples write accounts of his life that become the foundation of Christianity. For 3 centuries, this faith spreads like wildfire through the Roman world. The more emperors try to stamp it out, the stronger it grows. Christians are fed to lions, burned alive, crucified. But they keep coming. Until 312 CE, when Emperor Constantine himself has a vision before the most important battle of his life. A cross in the sky with words that will echo through history. In this sign, you will conquer. He wins the battle. He wins the empire, and he makes Christianity the official religion of Rome. The persecuted have become the powerful. The faith of a carpenter's son has conquered the mightiest empire on earth. Chapter 6. The century that broke the world. Now we jump forward to the most devastating, world-shattering century in human history. Buckle up, because the 20th century was absolutely insane. By 1914, the world seemed more connected and peaceful than ever. Trade flourished, technology advanced. People talked about the end of war. They were dead wrong. World War I erupted like a volcano, consuming an entire generation. For 4 years, millions of young men died in trenches filled with mud, blood, and poison gas. Machine guns mowed down soldiers by the thousands. Artillery shells turned landscapes into moonscapes. Chemical weapons burned lungs and flesh. By the time it ended, 16 million people were dead, an entire generation wiped out. And everyone said, never again. They were wrong again. Just 20 years later, an even more devastating conflict exploded across the globe. World War II would make the First War look like a practice round. This wasn't just about territory. This was about the very soul of humanity. Nazi Germany launched a campaign of extermination so systematic, so horrifically efficient, that it defied comprehension. 6 million Jews murdered in the Holocaust. Entire cities bombed into rubble. Civilians targeted as military strategy. And then, in August 1945, humanity crossed a line we can never uncross. 2 planes, 2 bombs, 2 Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In seconds, the atomic age was born. For the first time in history, humans possessed the power to destroy their entire species. The war ended, but peace didn't come. Instead, the world split into 2 armed camps: capitalism versus communism, democracy versus authoritarianism. For 40 years, 2 superpowers, America and the Soviet Union, pointed thousands of nuclear missiles at each other. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and civilization could end in 30 minutes. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought us minutes away from nuclear war. The Berlin Wall divided families for decades. Proxy wars raged across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. But then, something incredible happened. In 1989, ordinary people with hammers and pickaxes tore down the Berlin Wall. The Iron Curtain lifted. The Cold War ended not with nuclear fire, but with dancing in the streets. Humanity had stared into the abyss of its own destruction and stepped back. Chapter 7. The Digital Revolution. And then came the revolution that changed everything again. The rise of the machines that think. In the 1970s, computers were room-sized monsters that only universities could afford. By the 1990s, they fit on desks. By the 2000s, they fit in our pockets. The internet connected every human on the planet. Suddenly, a farmer in rural Africa could video chat with a scientist in Tokyo. Information that once took years to spread now traveled the globe in milliseconds. Social media lets billions share their thoughts instantly. Smartphones put the entire knowledge of humanity in everyone's pocket. Artificial intelligence learns, creates, and solves problems at superhuman speed. But with great power comes great danger. The same technology that connects us can divide us. Misinformation spreads as fast as truth. Privacy disappears. Cyber warfare threatens entire nations. AI might soon surpass human intelligence entirely. We stand at another crossroads. The digital revolution could unite humanity like never before, or fragment us beyond repair. Epic finale. So here we are, 30 minutes and millions of years later. We've watched atoms become cells, become creatures, become gods of our own world. We've seen civilizations rise from muddy river valleys to span continents. We've witnessed empires that seemed eternal crumble to dust. We've watched ordinary humans achieve extraordinary things. But what does it all mean? Here's what strikes me most. Every civilization we've explored believed it had figured out the secret to permanence. Every empire thought it was different from all the others. The Egyptians built pyramids to last forever. Rome declared itself eternal. Every dynasty claimed divine right to rule forever. And they were all wrong. But here's what's incredible. With each rise and fall, something better emerged. The Greeks gave us democracy and rational thinking. Rome gave us law and engineering. Christianity introduced universal human dignity. The Renaissance sparked scientific revolution. The Enlightenment championed human rights. Each civilization, even in its downfall, passed on gifts that made the next one stronger, wiser, more capable of achieving human potential. You are the inheritor of all these dreams, struggles, and triumphs. Every freedom you enjoy, every right you exercise, every device you use, it's all built on foundations laid by people who lived and died thousands of years ago. The story of civilization isn't over. We're still writing it. We're on the verge of becoming a multi-planetary species. We're unlocking the secrets of life itself. We're building machines that might think better than we do. But the question isn't what we can do. It's what we should do. The power we now hold could heal our planet or destroy it. It could unite us or divide us forever. The fire that our ancestors first kindled in prehistoric caves still burns. It burns in our curiosity, our creativity, our endless capacity to dream of something better and then make it real. We are the children of countless generations who refused to give up, who pushed forward despite overwhelming odds, who believed in something greater than themselves. And now it's our turn. The greatest chapter of human civilization might still be ahead of us. The question is, what will you do with this incredible inheritance? The future is waiting.